It reads in the book of Yirmiyahu, that's Jeremiah, chapter 10, verse 1 through 9, or I probably won't read that far. It says, "Hear the word which Yahuwah spake to you, O house of Israel. Thus said Yahuwah, do not learn the way of the nations, and do not avoid, or do not be awed," that means amazed, "by the signs of the heavens, for the nations are awed by them. For the laws of these people are ruthless. For one cuts a tree from the forest, work for the hands of a craftsman with its cutting tool. They beautify it with silver and gold. They strengthen it with nails and hammers so that it does not topple. They are like a rounded post, and they do not speak. They have to be carried because they do not walk. Do not be afraid of them, for they do no evil, nor is it in them to do any good." Okay, there is none like Yahuwah, like you, O Yahuwah. You are great, and great is your name in might, etc. You can finish up to verse 9 or verse 10 if you want. But here it is. They're like, how did he know about Christmas? You know, one of the so-called Greek names, Greek traits of Yah or Yahuwah, or some call him Yahweh, is that he's omniscient. He knows everything. He knows everything. He knows everybody because he created it. It wasn't called Christmas then. Okay? Even they did it back in Adam's time too. They bowed down to the creation. Go over to your books. I'm quoting by memory. In Ramaya or Romans chapter 1, verse 1 through 22, or just specifically verse 22. It says, "Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools and worshiped the creation rather than the Creator, who is glory and to be praised, Amen, etc." Okay? The thing is, they worship the creation. Is this not what they do at Christmas time? They go in, they put a tree down, and they bow down to it. How do you know they bow down to it? He says, when you put your gift down, symbolically you're bowing down to that tree. That means you're worshiping it. But let's go on. Bowing down to a tree and spending money to decorate it, excuse me, before you bow down to receive the gifts that you bought yourselves, which is or a form of idol worship, because you give yourselves gifts. Yah says he's a jealous God. That's one of his names. That's one of his names. And speaking of names, another one of his names is Reverend. Reverend means awesome, almighty. So you people out there who call yourselves Reverend, okay, you have no right. The only, he's more than a person. He's the Spirit, the Almighty. Only the Creator has a right to call himself Reverend, because he's awesome. So you say to a man who's Reverend, "Oh, Reverend," he's not Reverend. He's not awesome. Or Bishop. They're not bishops. You meet on the day of the Sunday, and you call yourself priest and or bishop and all that. You're not of Yah's, faith. To be, an Israelite, and he calls all of his children Israelites. He doesn't call them a religion. Man-made religion to control the masses. Okay? Yah knew about this because they did this in the ancient times. They've decorated trees, etc. And an idol in your churches, or your sun god churches, or the day of the sun, Sunday, you can't use them. Okay, you can't use these things. You only, if you use them to worship to them, to glorify yourselves. What do you mean? You give each other gifts. You put it down a tree. You bow down to a tree. Right before you bow down to the tree, you already decorated it. Remember the song, "Deck the halls with boughs of folly." Where do you think they got that from? They're mocking Yah's word. Did you know that Yah's name, even though it's spelled the Tetragrammaton by the Metzorets, or rites, whatever you want to call it, it is spelled Yod He Vad He, which is Yahoo. Yahoo. The English form, they would say Yahuwah, or the corrupt form sort of is Yahweh or Yahweh. That word, the W or the two V's, which were two U's at first, put together was by some German philanthropist or whatever, who was also a so-called scholar in their eyes, and he made up Yahweh. But it's Yahoo or Yahuwah or Yah. You want to stay on the safe side, just say Yah. Some say Ayek Aher Asher Ayek, or I am that I am. Stop all this silliness and foolishness. Okay? That's I am that I am. The word I is ah. Okay? Yek or Yeh or Yah is am. He's the great I am. Am, basically, you could say, is his name. But they go do all this silliness. It's all idol worship. And an idol in these sun god churches, even though Yahusha was born and died, like I said earlier, in the month of Abib or April, and never commanded by himself nor his father Yahuwah to bow down to him, nor make up lying songs and like songs like "Come, they told me, pum pum pum." That's not in the scripture, or Santa, or his name actually. There was a Saint Nick, and he used to help a lot of people. It doesn't matter. He's not God. He's not Yah. He's not Yahuwah. You put all this crap, excuse my French, inside these so-called Day of the Sun churches. They're already wrong because they meet on the Day of the Sun, Sunday. You got the Christmas tree in the church. You got the baby, so-called baby Jesus, a statue that you bow down to, right? And you kiss the baby. Even Catholicism, certain environments, they go to each door to raise money and they have a statue, a little baby statue of the baby Jesus, and that's not his name either. Hail Seuss, that's not his name. To kiss the baby, and you donate money, and you're on your way because you think you're blessed. That's not in scripture. You're worshiping a baby. Yah is the risen Mashiach. He's the risen Messiah. Okay, when he died on the tree, the stake, that was once and for all, and all's forgiven. The only way you can show that you're an Israelite and you're living for the Mashiach is to obey his commandments. Yahusha, or some call him Yeshua, but Yahusha or Yahushua, when he met, even in the Brit Kadash of the New Testament, he didn't meet on Sunday, the day of the sun. He met on Shabbat. And all the disciples, they say, "Oh, what about that day when Shaul or Paul says gather, and they met on the first day of the week and they gathered? What did they gather anything on Shabbat? No. To gather something like they did on the first day of the week, that's work. Scriptures command you don't work on Shabbat. So they were meeting on Shabbat, but they met after Shabbat on the first day of the week so they can work. In other words, to accumulate the money to help the other Israelites that were scattered abroad, locally and abroad. See, Christians teach you all that lie throughout their churches and all throughout Bible colleges, and that's not true. Okay, when they say we three kings of Orient are, the scripture doesn't say there were three kings that met. They say in Christianity a lot, well, those were symbolic of the gifts. The gifts, gold, frankincense, and myrrh. The three gifts were gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Three. It didn't say three men. Okay? The scripture says if you took the synoptic gospel, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, synoptic meaning three, you'll see that first the shepherds saw the star, and when they went to that place where Miriam and Joseph were with the baby Yahusha, it says he was a baby. Okay, he wasn't in the manger, he was in a stable, and he was in one of the feeding plows, and that they renamed that a manger, where the animals eat. And they saw him, then they went on their merry way. And then it says, then the wise men came. And when they came, they saw the child, Yahusha. What do you mean? A child is usually 2 years, maybe a little less than 2 years old, maybe a little older than 2 years.